Give us again the reasons for this national shuttage they're planning for the next few months, and also some of the other plan of action.
Well, it seems that the NUM is on the march yet again over mine safety. Now, if you recall, back in October 2007, there was a national one-day shutdown in protest against safety. I mean, 2007 was a particularly bad year for mine deaths, and it caused quite a lot of controversy. It was the first time ever that the unions had gone on strike over anything but pay and conditions, and it cost the mines a lot of money, and it seems like it's going to happen again. And on top of that, there's also rolling action, which is planned to start on Saturday in the Northwest Province in the platinum and gold fields, which they say is also likely to hit production. And on top of that, the unions are saying that if the membership calls for more action after the shutdown in September or October, on a date yet to be decided, they will do so. They will go for more strikes. So it looks like it's going to be quite a winter this year.
Well, perhaps give us a bit of perspective here, because we had the first quarter stats out, and they showed, this is according to the Department of Mineral Resources, a 25% rise in mining deaths in the first quarter to 38 people. NUM alleges it could be closer to 50. I mean, are we seeing a deterioration here? Because it looks like companies are spending a lot more time and money trying to prevent these deaths.
Well, sure. Actually, the figure they gave today, the NUM, was 27% up on the same period last year. But what they're saying, and I spoke to a lot of people this morning, mining people who were around this conference, and they were saying that in 2007, when there was this sort of shock shutdown, as it were, then the mining companies, they invested a lot of money, they invested a lot of time and expertise into trying to save more lives, and the following years were relatively safe, or a lot safer than they were before, and less deadly underground. But they're saying now they're seeing a slipping back of standards and a slipping back in safety and a steady sort of increase in deaths. And what they're saying is that they're going to push, because the first question I asked Franz Belleni, the General Secretary, I said, well, is it going to do any good? 4 years ago you had a strike over this, and now you're in the same position, if not worse. And he said, no, we're going to push this as far as we can. It's a serious, serious subject. And his quote to me, he said, we want to sell our labour, not our souls.
Of course, at the same time, we know that the Department of Mineral Resources has been hammering down on those mining companies where we have seen deaths on the increase. So what else do they hope to achieve by having this one-day stoppage?
Well, that's the point. I mean, that's the question that the mines and the employers are going to be asking. What difference does it make? Another thing that came out of the press conference today was the fact that they're going to reinforce the day of mourning for every single fatality in every single mine in South Africa. Now, that was brought in again in the flurry of 2007, and that was seen again by the employers as quite a tricky one to get around, because it meant in some mines, you know, we're losing a week, 2 weeks of work for the year, and it was actually impacting on their figures. And that is going to be something else, which I don't think that the employers know. Just a short time ago, I got a comment, very short time ago, about 5 minutes ago, a comment from the Chamber of Mines, saying that they too are concerned about safety and deaths in the mines. But they're saying, and I quote, safety will not be achieved by stopping production. That's the statement from Franz Barker, the leading industrial man at the Chamber of Mines.
Any idea of the cost of that October 2007 strike to the industry, and of the potential cost of the latest one they're planning?
Well, if I recall, it ran into tens of millions of dollars. I mean, if you think about the production for just one mine, platinum or gold, especially with the gold price where it is at the moment, it is going to run into tens of millions. And I think it's a time when mines can least afford it. I mean, already a lot of them were loaded with costs with the extra safety, and now they're going to be hit with a one-off loss. I mean, a lot of people will have time to factor it in because it's only September or October, but it's going to be a big blow to a lot of the mines.
Of course, it's not just down the mine shafts where we are seeing worker deaths. We're also seeing worker deaths years after these guys have come out of the ground due to respiratory illnesses. Any mention of that and any plan of action to deal with that?
Yes, and also talking about more possibly costly litigation for the mining companies. What they said was that respiratory illnesses had killed more miners than accidents underground. They gave figures which said more than 5,000 miners I mean, that's the workforce of a decent-sized mine, died between the years of 2003 and 2009 of respiratory illnesses. Now, what the union's saying is that any miners who wish to take a class action against mining companies, they will support them, and they will put their legal people behind them, which again, you know, could lead to some very, very expensive and drawn-out lawsuits.
I should imagine our gold sector, which is already very much under pressure, it's doing okay at the moment with the gold price where it is, but if you saw that gold price pulling back with some of this action, it could actually bring the gold miners to their knees, couldn't it, Chris?
Well, I think so. I mean, a lot of the mines are still marginal despite some of the good prices that have been over the years. I mean, costs are rising fast. The cost of borrowing is still reasonably high. A lot of mines are still trying to construct and drill ever deeper into the surface to get after some of these ore bodies that sometimes are up to 4 kilometers down underneath Johannesburg in particular. And, you know, costs are rising all the time. And I think that this is something on the balance sheet that I think that the mining companies are going to rue by the end of this year.